as we get into more of the hands-on stuff here, I'm going to occasionally just give you the sounds of the strings in tune so you can check your tuning as we go. So I'm going to start off that way right now. Here's the low E. Here's A. D. G. B. And E. Now I'm playing with a pick. A lot of you may use picks already, or you may be learning about what using a pick is all about. But essentially, I think of a pick as a little drumstick. And what you're doing as a guitar player is kind of like a drummer over here. What you're doing is actually hitting the strings of the guitar a lot of the time with the guitar pick. So it's actually kind of like a little drumstick, if you want to look at it that way. And what this hand is doing over here is not unlike what a piano player does, where he forms different shapes with his fingers on the keys of the piano. The difference being, it doesn't take any strength to press down piano keys, but on a guitar neck you do have to exert quite a bit of strength, which of course results in a little bit of pain in your fingertips. If you don't know that already, this will involve some callus building using the very tips of your fingers, which you're doing here. That's a very unprotected part of your finger. That's one of the places that they draw blood from, because there's very little protection there normally. So you'll be building callus, but when you do this with your hands, your fingers, much like a piano player, you don't really get any noise until this hand does its thing, which may be with a pick, maybe with your thumb, maybe with your fingernails. You may finger pick strings. So there's a lot of different ways, different techniques, but one of the first ones to get used to is using a flat pick. Now I'll zoom in here on my fingers a little bit, because this is pretty important to see exactly how this thing is held. Now you notice I've got it between these two, my thumb and my index finger, curled around behind it. And the pick is sticking out of, essentially out of the side of my thumb. It's kind of hard to see that, but it's sticking out towards the strings. Now it's coming from that part of my thumb that I would ordinarily be using, the side of my thumb, as I strum the strings. That's normally how you would play, with your thumb sort of flat against the strings as opposed to sticking away from the strings. So that's just a little refresher, a few pointers there that could help you. Now we're going to have a little discussion about physics here. We said that strings vibrate at certain frequencies, give you certain pitches. And as we observe, as you have observed, when you move up the neck, pressing down strings, the pitch gets higher. Well, have you ever thought about why that is? Now, there are three reasons why a string has a particular pitch. And you've probably observed that these strings are different diameters, very different diameters, from the lowest to the highest. So that would be the first most obvious thing, that the pitch of a string is determined by its diameter. A thicker string, larger diameter, will have a lower pitch, whereas the thinner strings have higher pitches. Now, obviously, when you're tuning the guitar using the tuners, you are changing the pitch there, but that has to do with the tension that you're changing by turning, tightening, or loosening the string. So that would be the second thing, would be the tension of the string. Higher tension, tighten the string, the pitch goes up. Loosen the tension, the pitch goes down. But now, when you're perfectly in tune, you've got 6 notes, but you still want to play more notes. The only way you can play more notes is not by changing the diameter of the string, because that's already set. And the tuning, that's set the tension. But if you want additional notes, well, you'll actually be changing the length of the string. Not so much the actual length, but the length that is vibrating, which is going to go from the bridge or the saddle on the top of the guitar up to the fret bar right above your finger. And you should always hold your finger as close to that fret bar as you can, to the high side of the fret, because that will give you the cleanest, clearest sound without getting this buzzy sound, which I'm sure everybody experiences plenty of that. You can make that go away by squeezing harder, but that also creates more pain. So now is the time to learn finger placement right behind the fret bar will give you the maximum amount of clarity for the minimum amount of pressure, which equals pain. So try to keep that in mind. So the first thing we're going to do is start out on the low E string, and I'm going to zoom in here so you can see my hands. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move up this E string fret by fret. I'm going to start off playing the string open, that is no fingers at all. Then I'm going to put my first finger in the first fret, my second finger in the second fret, my third finger in the third fret, my fourth finger in the fourth fret, and yes, I'm sorry to tell you, you do have to use your fourth finger or your pinky. Part of the challenge here is going to be getting your pinky to behave like the other fingers, to actually do something. Most of your life it's probably not been doing much of anything. So you're going to go open, first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth fret. And then you can go back down, reverse that process. And that's a very good exercise to do. Now try and repeat that with me. I'll do it fairly slow, but I also want it to be fast enough that you're challenged a little bit. Now when I get up here to the fourth fret with my pinky, what's the easiest way to play the next highest note? Well, some people might say, well, just slide your pinky or start over again with your index finger. But there is an easier way. If you recall, when you tuned the string, you put your finger in the fifth fret on the E, which gave you the sound for A. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the fourth fret on E, and then jump immediately to the A string, and then jump to the D string, and then jump to G. Now remember, on G, I only have to jump after the third fret. And that's as high as I can go without moving my hand. This is what's called first position on the guitar. The open strings and the first four frets. And this is the first thing that you need to practice. And there's that ugly word, practice. And that's what it's going to take. Is going through this exercise using the correct finger in the correct fret and the correct finger placement. Once you've gotten good at this, then you come back down, which I liken to climbing down a tree, because quite often it's harder to climb down than it is to climb up. But nevertheless, this is the most basic, important first exercise to do. And hopefully, it'll be a little bit of fun.